So, the old Nachum Segal, any excuse I could find to discuss the New York Yankees on the air. And thank God Max Mannis is around. Max Mannis is an Orthodox Jewish young man who works for Jomboy. Those of you who are familiar, it's one of the outlets that's always talking about the New York Yankees. He's been there for parts of the last 6 seasons. He was born and raised in New York City, a Heschel graduate, got hired mid-Shana Aleph at YTVA. Isn't that funny? We were just speaking yesterday to Rabbi Seif and Rebbe Yoshua from YTVA. They must be proud that Max is an alum. He always wanted to work in baseball, and now, of course, he has the opportunity to do it. He also says he tries to use it to promote Yiddishkeit and Am Yisrael, which, of course, we love featuring people who do that. Max Mannis, a pleasure to welcome you to JM in the AM.
Yeah, thank you. And I was going to say it's an honor to follow it up like Gedolim like that yesterday. I was laughing when I saw Rabbi Seif send that in the YTVA WhatsApp chat. So, listen, like you said, any excuse I have to yap about the Yankees, it's it's kind of my day job, but I like to do it in my free time. Anyway.
Did you ask Aaron Judge for a contribution for the YTVA campaign or not? I need to know. I mean, come on.
It didn't listen. It didn't come up this time, but we'll have to keep it moving. Maybe a year or two down the line.
I mean, the guy makes a few dollars. All right, Max, let's get right into it. Why are the Yankees not telling us when Jason Dominguez is coming back?
Ooh, probably because he's got to actually get all the MRIs and all that stuff first. But yeah, that was a bummer yesterday. I think he's been dealt quite a few tough hands in his career as it pertains to injuries and kind of his development. There's some stuff that I think you could pin on the Yankees. I think a lot of it is kind of dumb luck, but yeah, it stinks for him. He was kind of about to get at least probably a few weeks, if not like a month, however long Stanton is out. I think they were kind of just going to give him the runway of hey, you're the DH every day against righties. So to see that yesterday really sucked. But you know what? It's overall it's been a solid season before. So far be it for me to harp on the complaints.
No, I got that, but I do agree with you. They've completely mishandled him, but I guess that's for a conversation for another day. So you have no clue if he's available tomorrow or if he's out for a month. You have no idea.
I know as much as you do. I think we'll probably get a report later today because they said it was in Texas. He wasn't able to get the MRI and all that yet. But I don't know. He looked like he was in pretty significant pain. It
was getaway day. They had to make sure he got to a New York hospital. The little intricacies of what you need to know to follow the Yankees and report on them accurately. Pretty amazing. So, I mean, look, it's I don't want to say it's every kid's dream, but I could certainly speak for those who dreamt about it years ago to work in sports and to work, in a job that does have you talking about the Yankees all day long. And at the same time, being able to maintain one's Orthodox Judaism and Jewish pride and everything else. I mean, I mean, look, baseball's a 7-day-a-week, at this point, 24-hour-a-day industry. Has being a Shomer Shabbos been, really detrimental as your career continues to advance?
Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say it's sunshine and rainbows every day. There's definitely conflicts. There's definitely times where you have to be willing to kind of, balance a lot of things that, maybe a lot of other people in the sports industry, it's a little bit it sounds like you're speaking in Chinese hieroglyphics or whatever to them when they say you don't go on your phone on, for 2 games, Friday night and Saturday day out of the week. But yeah, listen, I've always said at the end of the day, it's who I am. These are 2 things that were very important to me. And there were times definitely when I was younger where a lot of people in the Jewish world kind of thought it was a little bit insane for somebody like me to be wanting to follow this type of path. And then now there are times where people who have followed this type of path probably think it's a little bit insane for me to be doing the whole kooky religious thing. But at the end of the day, it's who I am. And those are 2 things that really, really matter to me. So, you do what you got to do. And one thing that I always say is that I think there's a lot of people, certainly Jewish people in the industry, don't get me wrong, that respect them, that, it kind of earns some brownie points with them. And they look at that, even if they're, whatever degree of religious, and they tip the cap a little bit. But I also say that I think there are other people who really know very little or kind of don't care, whatsoever about anything like that. But I think for them to just see, oh, this is a person who's kind of not just taking the unconventional route, but is willing to stand up for what he believes in, willing to be firm in his belief, willing to, kind of take the unbeaten path a little bit. I think a lot of people kind of look at that and they say, hey, I think, it earns a little bit more respect in there.
Well, so if you know anything about this show, we really tip our cap to you, frankly. I think it's amazing. Do you have colleagues? Are there any? Is there an Orthodox Jew following the Diamondbacks every day? Do you have people? Are there people in the league who have your background? You're the lone guy.
Yeah, there was one other. Well, there was one other from guy who was working at Jomboy for a few years. Unfortunately, left a few months ago to kind of go start a new, exciting new endeavor. So I definitely missed having him around. He was very much a favorite around the office. Jeremy Schechter, shout out if he's listening. But yeah, as far as within the industry, there's a couple other people. There's a guy named Zach Rabb, I know, who's awesome, who works for MLD doing stuff on the minor league side. I know a guy named Noah Berger who does some stuff. He used to do a lot of stuff covering the Marlins and various other parts of baseball. So listen, all the frum people in baseball, it's it's not the biggest pool, so we tend to stick together. But yeah, not the most plentiful, but that's what makes it all the more cool.
And I know that you weren't around in the 70s and 80s. I get that, but I wonder if from your vantage point, if you think back then there would still have been a role for you. Again, that's the era where people like me were dreaming about stuff like this. Is it easier today? Are there just so many more opportunities? So people are willing to put up with the with the Shabbos element of it. Like what do you think the difference is? And do you think years ago this could have been done?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that probably kind of just the landscape of media as a whole looked so different then than it does now. In the landscape of media and you don't even have to go that far back. I think even if you go back like 15 years ago, it was kind of like media. If you cover baseball, that meant you were a beat reporter, and that meant you were in the clubhouse on these days, and you do this and you do that, and it was very cut and dry, and it was like, this is what a career in baseball media looks like. Right. And that's changed a lot now. And I think that I think there are pros and cons to any balance, any trade-off, any level of things. But yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. You got me thinking now. I do think it's probably easier now just because there's more creativity, I would say, and more kind of everybody has their own level of leeway to do.
Yeah, I mean, in those days, if the radio station, TV station, or newspaper was not willing to hire you, you were finished. There was nothing else to do. Here you Here you have avenues that are unique. What got me. What caught my attention and what led to me inviting you on the air was your interview with Dusty Baker. I didn't realize that he had he had an acquaintance that is an Orthodox Jew and that he's made the effort. And by the way, I'm so curious if it's the legendary Mernick family from Toronto. I wonder if it's the same.
It is. It's the Mernick family from Toronto. I know the family beyond Yoni, but Yoni rocks.
Well, that's what I mean. Meaning, when I say legendary Mernick family, there was a legendary Mernick family in Toronto involved in Jewish music, so I wonder if they're the same. But anyway, I can find that out on my own. But I heard you speak to him, and the level of respect that he has for Orthodox Judaism, for those of all religions who make a commitment to have a certain discipline, etc. I thought was really cool, and I think it worked out really well in the whole baseball discussion because, frankly, baseball's a really disciplined routine as well. So I don't want to call baseball a religion, but I sort of felt there were some parallels there.
No, yeah, I've dwelled on that a lot. That I think there's a lot of similarities, whether it's the history, kind of the question of how much do we value tradition versus kind of embrace, the modern world. There's a whole lot there, But yeah, that was really, really cool. The first time I met Yoni, who, like I said, I have a big time shout out to from guy who works at Boardroom, which is Kevin Durant and Rich Kleiman's very successful media company. And yeah, the first time that I spoke to him, one of the first things he said to me was Dusty Baker and I are super tight. So yeah, I kind of always had in the back of my head that would be a really cool guest to have on a podcast one day. Had to kind of wait for the right time to cash in that chip, if you will. But yeah, there was a part of myself that almost had to I'll kind of pinch myself, but also keep from laughing when I was just thinking about I'm having a future Hall of Fame manager on my podcast right now, and we're talking about kashrus. How did the sequence of events in my life lead me here?
All right, so you got to do me a favor. Just when you text him next, you're going to ask him if he's related to the legendary Shifty Mernick. You're gonna let me know. Max Mannis is with us. We're talking New York Yankees, Jomboy Media, and his incredible role with his wonderful background. Shout out to YTVA and, of course, all the other schools he's been to. So let me ask you a couple of questions. We talk about tradition. So are you for or against the Yankees obtaining or implementing some type of alternate uniform?
Oh, I thought you were about to ask about ABS.
Interesting.
Listen, man, my response to that is kind of the same as it pertains to the beards and all those changes when all that, drama happened last year.
Right.
I feel like it's a thing a lot of people have a very strong take one way or another. If it was up to me, I probably wouldn't change it, but above all else, go win. You know what I mean? I don't really have it in me to kind of get bogged down in a lot of those.
So you like victories.
Yeah, listen, I always say I had the worst timing of all time, and that 2010 was the first year that I chose to like actually be dialed in on baseball.
Right.
So, we're going on almost 2 decades now and no ring.
Well,
so,
I'll give you the opposite perspective. My late brother, whose birthday happens to be today, my late brother was born in 1951. He was 10 years old for Mantle Maris, and then the subsequent incredible championship run, or at least American League pennant / championship run through 1964. I am always jealous of the Yankee experience he had, although I did come close because obviously as a teenager I was enjoying the Thurman and Reggie Yankees.
Sure.
So I got to be careful in terms of lamenting how many championships I missed because as you would agree, a lot of people would be jealous of my run. You bring up ABS. I'll be honest with you, I never thought it would work as well as it has. I can't stand the extra innings runner on second base. I don't like interleague play, so I really am a traditionalist, I guess. Bob Costas would probably call me a traditionalist. But I thought ABS would ruin the game. I think it's only enhanced it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, there's anybody can nitpick any kind of change. I understand there are people who are always kind of just going to be nostalgic for whatever version of the game you grew up in, and I can't hate on that. But I think at the end of the day, thinking back to the fact that we used to have bad calls decide games, like as recently as in March, the USA versus DR WBC game that ended on a bad 3-2 pitch to call to Geraldo Perdomo.
Right.
Everybody was kind of watching that being like, this might be the last time in a very long time that we watch a game actually truly get decided by this. And that's kind of crazy. I think also this is a good point that Jomboy, to give a shout out to my boss, that I'll steal this point from him, is that he said, it feels like when you have a challenge go your way, it feels awesome. And when one goes against you, it doesn't feel like, oh man, it feels like, no, that's how that's supposed to go.
It is a momentum changer. It is a momentum changer for sure.
Yeah.
By the way, yesterday's game, right? Yeah. In yesterday's game, we had a momentum changer with a call early in the game.
Very early.
Right. Elmer had a ball that was turned into a strike, correct?
Yeah, no, and it would have, and because it was a strikeout, they ended up throwing out the runner at second. So,
correct.
That's the difference between no one on 2 outs or 2 on and no out for a dude in the first inning of his MLB career.
Right.
Yeah, that kind of says it all.
By the way, and it's so funny. They always say, every time you watch a baseball game, you learn something new, and I know that's an exaggeration, but it's sort of true. I didn't realize you get hit by a pitch, you could actually strike out on the same pitch.
Yeah, as long as you swing. One of the ones that kind of blew my mind that I didn't know until a few years ago was if a pitch bounces and then hits the hitter, it still counts as a hit by pitch.
Right.
I watched that and I was like, I've watched baseball for almost 2 decades, and how did I not know that?
But on the one that I just brought up, would they, if it wasn't the third strike, would they have put him on first base or not? Is it the same rule if it's one strike?
No, I think it's a swing regardless. I think it's a strike regardless.
Interesting.
But yeah, learn something new every day.
To say the least, I'll tell you, unbelievable. So any excuse to talk about the Yankees on this show, so I thank you. One of the
Knock yourself out.
Yeah, I appreciate that. How well do you know Yankee history? Are you one of those people that really knows everything that happened, starting with Berra, or are you somebody that's only focused on the last 10, 15 years?
No, I mean, listen, I know my history. When I was younger, it was impossible to get me to read any kind of book that wasn't about baseball. I've been reading Ball 4 by Jim Bouton recently. That's been my Shabbos.
Oh, my gosh. That was a life-changing book for a million people.
Everybody that I've asked that's, got a few decades on me. I mentioned it to my uncle over Pesach, and he looked at me with his jaw on the floor. He was like, "You've never read Ball 4?" I was like, "Listen, I'm getting engrossed in it now."
And not only that, you got to put yourself back into that era because if you think it's
a lot of it seems pretty tame now.
Correct. If you think it's a revolutionary book, imagine when it came out, what it was like.
Yeah, no, I can only imagine. But yeah, so when I was younger, baseball history, baseball stats, I used to sit there reading Beckett baseball card price guides and stuff like that.
Wow.
So yeah, I was holding, if you will. I think now at this point, that's kind of one of the trade-offs of working in baseball is that when every single day is kind of spent on just, hey, what's the 24-hour news cycle? What are we talking about? Post clips about this, post, highlights, post news. It can be a little, it can be a little difficult to kind of strike that balance of living in the now versus appreciating the history and all that. But in the off season, I do my reading. I get my Ken Burns fix. I try to keep an eye on the bigger picture.
So we don't often get to speak about the Yankees on this show. But when Marty Appel wrote a book about Thurman Munson, I believe on the 30th anniversary of Munson's death.
Okay.
And I mean, you know the circumstances of Munson's death, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did not know it was on Tisha B'Av. I learned that recently a matter of weeks ago.
So
yeah.
I say to Marty Appel on this show, I say to this, I know this is a crazy question, but I'm so curious because for us, it was literally the middle of the day on Tisha B'Av, and everybody my age, especially the Yankee fans, can tell you exactly where they were and where they were standing when they heard the news that Munson's plane crashed and that he was dead. And it was on Tisha B'Av, and I said to Marty, I just got to ask you this question. Munson's crash, his death happened on a significant day in the Jewish calendar on Tisha B'Av. Did you ever hear of that? And I'll never forget, he says to me, I think I remember hearing something about that. I seem to remember, the scuttlebutt, in my temple, was about Munson dying.
Some very hungry, very sleep-deprived Jew was telling me about that day.
Oh, it's not funny. Yeah, you can say that again. All right, so look, I'm. How often do you do a podcast? Like, you have a guest? How often?
Yeah, it kind of differs based on a lot of things, based on availability, based on my Jomboy work schedule. But I try to shoot for at least 2 a month.
All right.
Especially in the off season, it's easier to do a little bit.
All right, so here's why you need me as a guest. Like, I'll tell you why you need me as a guest. I could tell you where I was when Bucky Dent hit the home run on Rosh Hashanah.
There you go.
I could tell you that my late brother was at Jim Bunning's perfect game.
Okay.
Which was Father's Day, by the way, Father's Day, 1964, Shea Stadium. I could tell you that my 2 older brothers were both at the Chambliss game.
Wow.
I could tell you that I was living, and this is a crazy story. I was living in Chambliss's building the night he hit the home run.
Okay.
So I have colleagues who actually saw him that night after that game.
Wow, there you go. This is an impressive laundry list.
I'm telling you, I have so much to talk about. I can tell you.
Clearly.
I can tell you that my 2 older brothers were at the Reggie game, 1977, Game 6.
There you go.
So there's just too much. I mean, I have too much baseball stuff I must spew forth, and I think you're going to be assigned to just to take care of this for me and let me get it all out.
Yeah, listen, there's no shame in that. I always say, my day job is to talk baseball, but that's kind of what I would be doing anyway.
Oh, I wonder if you, a young Yankee fan, would understand the significance of this one. You know what game my brother was at? He was at Pinella Carlton Fisk. Do you even know what that means, Pinella Carlton Fisk?
I'm guessing a fight of some capacity.
massive role. Because I remember if you were at that game in that year, I think it was 76. If you were at that game, It was like the talk of the town that you were there that night. I'll never forget, a guy came over to my brother just to talk about baseball, and he said to him, "Have you noticed that Pinella is, just not hitting well this year," or something like that? And my brother said, "Well, I was there the night of the brawl." What? You were there the night of the brawl? It was like the biggest deal that he was actually there that evening. But I'll tell you, I'll give you another one. Here's another reason why I need to be a guest of yours. Listen to this. This is going to blow your mind. You ready for this?
Let's hear it. Go for it.
I can't believe I'm doing this. From 1975 till 1982, I was at God knows how many Yankee games.
Okay.
Never at a Yankee loss.
Really?
In fact,
that's an impressive track record.
Correct. Agreed. In fact, here's how horrible this whole thing was. How did the streak end? In 1982, Bobby Brown, not the original Bobby Brown, the one who played in the 80s for the Yankees.
Sure.
There were 2 Bobby Browns on the Yankees. You know that, right?
I'm familiar.
The guy knows his stuff. I love it.
The story with Yogi and the comic books and the doctor book. It's a classic.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Very good.
Continue.
Doctor. He was a doctor. Bobby Brown was, in fact, a doctor. Right? So the other Bobby Brown, 1982, the Yankees are about to win the game. In fact, we were behind home plate because, we were ready to run out of the stadium the second, the third out. And he dropped the third out, and the Orioles came back and won. That's how I lost my streak. Could you imagine? That's how I lost my streak? I was also at the longest 9-inning game in Yankee history.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
tell me more.
I don't know. I wonder if it's still the longest 9-inning game because there were so many long games in the last 10 years. I was at a game where the Yankees lost to the Orioles 18-9 on a Sunday. Must have been like 1988 in that area. And, and at that time,
Yankees teams.
and it was a bad Yankee team. And at that time, it was the longest. It was the longest 9-inning game in Yankee history.
Okay, there you go.
Mean,
Yeah, I was
Max.
there. I set a personal record a couple of weeks ago with I spent 8.5 hours in one day at Yankee Stadium between a rain delay and then the game.
Oh, was that Sunday? Was that Sunday?
That was the Sunday. But you know what? I ended up being able to bring Susan Waldman Matza in the press box. So all things considered, I'll take the trade.
That was Sunday Cholamoid, right?
Sunday Cholamoid, you got it.
Did she really take the matzo? That's funny.
I brought the matzo in that she actually already had. She said, "Oh, somebody brought me already." But I said, "Okay, fine, you'll take this one too." I ended up keeping a little bit of it. I was like, "I got to eat something for lunch today."
I don't think she works on Yom Kippur. If I'm.
She does not. Yeah, when she came on my podcast, she said that she said one of her because she grew up a Red Sox fan in Boston area, and so she said that on the Bucky Dent game on Rosh Hashanah, she and her brother still to this day blame themselves for the fact that they went to the game, and that's why the Red Sox lost. But
I love it.
So yes, she said to this day I don't work Yom Kippur. Yankees Red Sox. We have Yankees Red Sox wild card this year again on Yom Kippur, and she said I wasn't touching it this time.
Wow. And finally, just to continue to toot my own horn, which I generally don't do, but today I have no choice. I'm just,
Go for it.
And once I heard you were coming on, I said that this guy's going to have to sit through everything I got to tell him. I take great pride, with all the time you spend at the stadium, I take great pride in the fact that I know the most important person at Yankee Stadium.
Who's that?
The Mashgiach and Legends.
I had a feeling you were going to say it must be some capacity. The Legends one, okay, I'm not at that level yet. One day we'll get there.
In fact, I'm going to give you. Do you ever sneak into Legends, or you can't do that?
No, I mean, with my career and all that, I try to be pretty cognizant of a lot of those things. Right. When I was, 10 years ago, maybe a different story. I would have been a little bit more ambitious. Right. But at this point, it's like, all right, you're an adult, you have an image to uphold. We can't be muddying in those waters anymore. But hey, you tell them if Yankee Stadium Legends Kosher Mashgiach wants to sponsor the Max Mannis pod and dish me a couple free tickets every now and then, far be it for me to turn that down.
I got to go with you once. I got to invite you there once. I got to take you there once.
Okay, you tell me when.
That's a great idea. You want to know when is a great day? And I don't know if this will work out. I'll be in touch with you and let you know if it works out. It's a great day to go.
What's that?
A week from today, they're playing the Orioles, an afternoon game.
Okay.
And I have the menu for Legends for that day. It's probably the best.
Okay.
Probably the best
menu. Wow, you've got the inside scoop.
Oh.
Okay,
I'm telling you, I know the most important.
Right guy.
I'm telling you, I know the most important guy at Yankee Stadium.
I don't doubt it. You hyped it up a lot. I was wondering where you were going to go with that. It did not let me down.
So if things work out, right, 20% chance, but at least we'll put it on the table. If things work out, we'll be eating at the buffet next Thursday afternoon. If it works out, we'll see what happens.
All right, listen, far be it from me to turn that down, like I said.
Correct. If not, then we'll certainly take a rain check, as they say in the world of baseball. Did you like the fact that they ran it back for this year? I'll tell you. You know why I'll tell you why I liked it. Then I'll ask you for your opinion. I liked it because I thought they did great last year. Obviously, Toronto picked them off. But they did it without Garrett Cole. And I said to myself, if they do the same thing again, but they have Cole coming back, it's going to be an even better season. What did you think?
Yeah, listen, on paper, at the end of the day, you can look at the fact that they have all those rotation guys coming back and they have the number one offense in baseball. I very much understand why the Yankees front office felt like this was, an okay thing to put their foot down on. I think my main hesitations were, one, kind of just the bullpen. I know Devin Williams and Luke Weaver weren't all that at the end of the year last year, but I feel like I've said this 15 different times. I feel like I say this, I'm a broken record with how many times I've been saying this since the season started. But the fact the Yankees didn't just sign an average to above average middle reliever or two this offseason. I think they're very scared of paying relievers after how the Aroldis Chapman, Zach Britton era contracts went down. And I think the pendulum swung so far in the direction of Matt Blake will just grab a couple guys off the scrap heap and, turn them into productive arms, that they kind of got to a point where they were banking on that and instead of making that a luxury, making it something they were depending on, which I think is a slippery slope to say the least. And then offensively, I think, Ben Rice has been, surpassing everybody's expectations so far, except the Yankees. I think the Yankees think he's the Yankees probably think he's a top 5-ish hitter in baseball as far as I can't exactly say I don't see it. But I think, listen, it's a lot of expectations on guys like Grisham and Jazz to repeat what they did last year. So I think in that sense, I just wanted a righty bat of some capacity. I wanted, especially now that like a Stanton is down, for example, like suddenly the Yankees right-handed, depth chart offensively is like you got Judge and then you got like Volpe and Caballero kind of, and like Dominguez who can't even really hit from the right side. So as far as that goes, I want one in some capacity. I think we'll probably get one at the deadline. They'll figure something out with whether it's third base, whether it's maybe like a platoon catcher for Wells. We'll see where he's at that point. But I was overall fine with running back the general structure of the team. I didn't think they needed any kind of like massive changes. But
yeah, I hear
we'll see how Grisham qualifying offer decision ages, and bullpen and a couple of righty backs.
Yeah, I think the Grisham coming back I thought was a good thing. I know people weren't happy because of the money and all that, but the guy's performing. And Ben Rice, look, I don't know if he's just, hitting great for a month or if he's really a superstar, but he's certainly...
No, I think it's the real deal. And the Yankees do too. The numbers don't lie.
Wow. Who's treated unfairly? I'll give you the three guys who are treated unfairly. You ready?
Okay.
Volpe. I think.
All right. I mean, we might be here for another hour if you get me going on that.
I think if they'd let him as a healthy player play every day, he'd be fine. But I
think they've let him play too much the last few days. I think the last few years, I think they've kind of ran him into the ground by the fact that they said this is our starting shortstop. We're going to play him 160 games. I think the truth is he was put in an unfair position because they passed on all these shortstops and they kind of anointed him as the next Jeter and all these things, and I don't think they set him up for success. But I mean, there's not a whole lot of guys that have gotten everyday run to the extent that he has over the last 3 years, and it felt like the Yankees wanted to kind of put their foot down on that and make an organizational statement about we believe in this, and it felt like they kind of let their pride and their ego get in the way of winning baseball games. But whatever, we'll be here. Like I said, we'll be here for another hour if I keep.
The second guy being treated unfairly is McMahon. He's okay.
I like the trade a lot of the time.
He looks too much like Brooks Robinson to really criticize him. And
no, he can pick it. He can pick it at third. The thing is, he doesn't even have to hit that much to justify the
exactly.
If he's a league average hitter with his gloves,
exactly. And I think if they play him every day, he will be a league average hitter, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we shall see. They gave him a decent amount of run to start the year, and then I think it's a question of what kind of role they want Rosario to have. All that's also just going to shake up with Caballero once Volpe gets back. Like the whole, I don't know. I've been saying like I think the story of the season hasn't really started to get written yet, but I think once Volpe comes back, it'll be like, all right, where's this story taking us?
And I think I think they're also unfair to Wells.
I'm a Wells guy. I've been saying I think Wells. I think he probably would have gotten a lot more heat last year if Volpe didn't struggle as much as he did. But yeah, it's crazy because Wells was supposed to be like bat first, can't really catch. Maybe he'll have to figure out first base or left field or just be a DH down the road. And now it's gotten to a point where it's like his glove has kind of been more of an asset for the last year plus. But I mean, listen, he, homered in Houston, homered in Texas. So we shall see. I would love if he could get it going.
Interesting. Boy, oh boy. All right. Sounds like you have high expectations for this team. You expect at least 100 victories.
Hey, listen, I'm a fan at the end of the day. I don't know, in the past, there are times where I try to be very timid, very rational, very see the bigger picture. But at the end of the day, it's like, I'm a Yankees fan. There's never going to be a day where I wake up and don't think the Yankees are winning on that given day. That's part of what being a fan is about. So we shall see.
Do you think crosstown Soto's going to improve?
I mean, he's going to be better than he's been, generally speaking, just because he's Juan Soto. Is he going to stay out the duration of that 15-year contract in Queens? I think might be a different conversation. But listen, the Mets are going through it right now. Baseball always has a way of, when you can't get too high and you can't get too low because you're going to meet in the middle at some point at a 5 out of 10 level. So the Mets, listen, they'll turn things around to some capacity, or they're not going to stay as bad as they've been. They're not going to stay on this, on this pace. But I mean, the list of teams that have started as poor as they have and had losing streaks like that and have gone to the playoffs is not exactly plentiful. So we shall say.
How did Jomboy find you if you were 6,000 miles away at YTVA?
Yeah, so I knew Jimmy. I've joked I followed Jimmy since before I had more Twitter followers than he did. Back when he was a dude with 100, 150 Twitter followers, tweeting out of a basement as kind of just a side gig passion project. So I was an early listener to Talking Yanks when he started that, like even before Jake joined. And then this is a cool story. So I ran like a baseball stats and baseball fan club at Heschel. And my senior year, he moved to the city in early November of 2019. And I said, hey, would love for you to come speak to this club that we run. And he said, sure, let's do November 14th. November 13th, the Astros scandal breaks. He makes this breakdown that goes crazy viral, like leaves the sports world. It was like on CNN. So I was thinking to myself, like, holy moly, this guy's like, he might not come tomorrow, and that's super valid. Like, he's doing the Michael K show right now. He doesn't have to come to the Heschel Sports Analytics Club. Still came, spoke for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, really long time. Stayed in touch. And yeah, I in the middle of my son Aleph, I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I'll be back in the city this summer. Would love to intern for you guys in some capacity. And he was like, oh, we could kind of use someone to start right now. So I was like, all right, I'm on a 7-hour time difference for the next however many months, but as long as you're cool with that. So yeah, for the last however many months of my son Aleph, my schedule was like waking up at 2 a.m. for Yankees games, napping for like 2-ish hours on each side of that, and considering that one night of sleep, which I do not recommend. Work during the day.
At least
balancing a lot.
At least you're able to watch the Shabbos games.
Yeah, exactly. That much was a nice perk. That much I do somewhat miss. But hey, trade-offs, right?
No, I hear it. But my kids in Jerusalem, when they hear it as a 12:30 or 1 o'clock Yankee game, they're thrilled. It's pretty amazing, frankly. Oh, it's all about baseball and it's all about the Yankees. Unbelievable. And is there an official relationship between Jomboy and the Yes Network or not?
Yeah, we are, a lot of our content is shown on there. Michael K is an investor of the company. We are on awesome terms with the Yes Network. They rock. Interesting.
Are there others in your solar system as well, or is it Jomboy and Yes? Like, are there others?
I mean, MLB invested in our company last year, so that was pretty cool. That was the first time that a pro sports league has invested in any kind of independent media company that covers the sport. So that was a pretty big deal in the industry when that happened. What else? I'm sure we've got some other pretty impressive ones that are blanking on me right now.
Frankly, frankly, MLB and the S Network are pretty impressive, frankly.
Yeah, hard to top.
Yeah, very hard to top. Really amazing, I'll tell you. Well, Max, you sound like an amazing guy. Can't wait to meet you, and continued good luck with what you're doing. And I wanted to ask you, because especially in this show, it would be appropriate. We know that high-profile people, especially in the media, including in sports, things were not always comfortable after October 7th. Things weren't always comfortable when Israel was at war. You feel a lot of that stuff, or it's basically ignored in your arena?
I mean, listen, social media is going to be social media. Especially like when things were heating up with the war, you could have checked my Twitter comments on any given day, and you could have predicted what that was going to be. So it was a little bit jarring at the start, and then I think at a certain point I just realized, like, all right, it's people on a screen, and that they have no actual impact on my life. And one of the things I realized, there's Jewish people in the industry, and kind of people that you've heard of, and people that like I hadn't even heard of, but I would have never known hold whatever high up cool position at whatever company that reached out to me and say, hey, I really like what you do. Like, you never know who's watching. And beyond that, I've realized that there are people, kind of like what I was saying before about how people respect like Shabbos observance. Like, there's people that follow me that, aren't Jewish, probably have zero kind of connection or frankly, like care whatsoever about Israel, Gaza, about any of that. But I think people that just see like, hey, this is a kid that, is in the social media space where it's not popular to stand up for something unpopular, where it's not, it's not something that everyone's doing. And he's very, I don't know, kind of driven by his morals and his history and his tradition. And I think that earns a lot of respect in people's eyes. So people always ask me like, oh, don't you think that, advocating for Israel and stuff like that has closed a lot of doors for you? And I always say like, sure. Like, frankly, at the end of the day, those are doors that like, I don't, if you don't like me, you don't like me. I don't think, there's no one that I could have collaborated with, but he's vocal about being Jewish. I'm not gonna bother. Like, okay, that's someone that I don't really need regardless, like cut your losses. But like I said, there's Jewish people that it definitely elevates that in their eyes, and non-Jewish people that I think look at it. And even if they don't know, even if they don't care, I think just seeing like, hey, this isn't just somebody who goes along with the herd and goes along with whatever TikTok tells them to say, I think holds a lot of merit in people's eyes.
Can you go to shul Shabbos morning without people like me bothering you about Thurman Munson and Reggie Jackson?
I mean, it's usually more so, do you know whether the Yankees won or lost last night? But listen, I'll take whatever baseball hawk I could get.
So it doesn't bother you that much.
No, listen, far be it for me to ever turn down any kind of baseball conversation at shul on Shabbos morning.
Oh, hilarious. I got some good stories, by the way, about trying to find out scores on Shabbos also, you should know.
I bet.
Max, a real pleasure. Hatzlacha rabah. The best of luck continued for you. And go Yankees.
Appreciate it. Go Yankees is right. Thanks so much for having me.
Max Mannis, everybody. Jomboy Media, great guy. So glad that I discovered him, or I should say I discovered his connection to Judaism through his conversation with Dusty Baker, followed up, and we were able to get him on the air. And he even was intrigued by that whole Chris Chambliss thing. Would you think, folks? I think so. Anyway, Sphere Format Thursday, and you're listening to JM in the AM.